Welcome back to the Church of Atheism. Just a really quick intro, and then I'm going to get the show started. We recorded this 420 special on 420, and we ended up making a very long episode, so I'm going to break them down into shorter episodes, so you're not stuck trying to listen to all 2 hours of it. So I'm probably going to release each one either one after another, one day after another, or else I'm going to skip a day or two and release the next one. Just depends on how soon I can get to editing. This first one I'm going to upload right now, obviously. If you're listening to it, it's uploaded. And then the next few will come out a couple days later. That's all I got. We're going to go straight to the episode. Thanks for listening.
Church of Atheism back in business.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, it might have been a little while, but, that's because what a lot of people don't realize, the podcast union went on strike, and me and Travis, we didn't vote for it, but when the union goes on strike, what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? So we're back now.
Yeah, we're not scabs.
Right, we are full time now.
But we're back, and it's April 20th, which means our 19-year anniversary Columbine Spectacular.
That's right.
That's
It's amazing, man. That they had 19 years ago was like the first big one that like really kind of caught everyone's eyes, and that was just commonplace. There's another one today.
Really, where at?
I want to say Florida. I don't think anyone was like. I don't think anyone died. Ocala, Florida.
Huh.
I'm butchering the shit out of that. Florida high school shooting leaves one student injured, suspect in custody.
Damn. Yeah, no, I hadn't heard about that. I was kind of dicking around on the news all afternoon. I hadn't seen that one yet.
It's like, it's fitting. Of course we're going to have a shooting today.
Yeah. What? God damn it, what was that? Hold on. I thought I turned it on airplane mode so I wouldn't get any calls or texts, and that didn't work. So what the fuck does airplane mode do anyway?
Makes it so you can use your phone on a flight.
Yeah. Huh. Well, anyway. So it is 420. We're going to do an episode on kind of the war on drugs and stuff. And I gotta say, I was talking to somebody, he's like, yeah, I think celebrating 420 is really childish. And then I kind of thought about it, and I agree. That's why on 420, I just boot up heroin now, because I'm an adult.
Right, exactly. You've grown up, you've matured.
Yeah, exactly.
No more of that kid shit.
Yeah. And actually, I boot heroin on the 20th of every month, so...
Just in case you forgot what month it is.
Which happens often.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was like December last weekend. All the fucking snow.
Yeah, right? We didn't get much snow, but we got like monsoon rain.
Yeah. Well, climate change isn't a thing, so.
No. This is all normal.
Oh man. Yeah. Oh, I would suggest, and we have a lot to get into, but real quick, I watched a documentary on PBS. It was kind of a biography type thing about Bill Nye, and it was fascinating because I've always loved Bill Nye. But he debated the guy who founded the Creation Museum. It was pretty famous. It was
Ken Ham.
Broadcast Live. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're familiar with it.
Yeah, I'm blocked by him on Twitter.
Nice, dude.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Oh, it was like, even though I love Bill Nye and I was fascinated by the documentary, like, I almost had to change the channel. It was fucking enraging.
Yeah. Is that the one where Nye was, like, in the museum?
Yeah, they showed they showed, like, he was kind of giving Bill Nye a tour of the museum, and then they would debate constantly along the way. And then it ended with a debate, and the Creation Museum guy, he had home field advantage, because I think they did it there.
Right.
Or at least in some that was close by. And Oh, it was so fucking infuriating because, like, well, like the one thing is like Bill Nye logically said that it's pretty messed up and wrong to teach all this bullshit. Dude, the Creation
Right.
Museum straight up has a section about giants. Yeah,
What?
giants because they mentioned giant. Well, because
Jesus.
Goliath was a giant. So
Oh, right.
yeah,
Of
so they
course.
have a section about the race that there's no actual evidence for.
Right.
There's giants.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Jesus.
yeah. But
Yeah,
anyway,
that
I think
yeah.
I think it's on like the PBS's website, so I would
Yeah, I think
suggest
so.
people go. Yeah, I'd suggest people that people watch that. It's good.
I would
Speaking,
recommend getting maybe some Gaviscon or some Tums or something because it's a little bit puke inducing.
yeah, I hadn't like smoked at all prior to that, so I was
Yeah.
just like, oh, I was getting so annoyed.
It's pretty terrible.
Oh,
Interesting
so
though. It's interesting as shit.
yeah, it was. But speaking of enraging, we're talking about the war on drugs. So I don't know. I haven't read the news in like the last year or two, but so how's the war on drugs going?
Um, I haven't been really keeping score, but I believe it's still happening.
Oh, yeah, because I went to Colorado, last fall, and last I know, you could buy drugs. So
Oh shit, you're
I
breaking
don't
up.
think it's going too well. No, I'm gonna go back and I'm in the laundry. Now can you hear me?
Yeah,
I think if I just stay in this room, it would actually be, yeah, cool.
nice.
So yeah, I kind of the research I did into it was basically like the history of the war on drugs, and I didn't really cover all over the world because my God, we'd be here.
It'd be,
We would pretty much need a podcast specifically. Yeah,
we
there's
would
just too much.
need
But
like researchers and like hired staff.
yeah. Because I was trying to read just about China's drug history because they're a major opium exporter to Britain.
Right.
Like I was trying to, I don't know, even just
Yeah, that's
the British Chinese opium trade with
that's a long wormhole.
yeah, I
on its
really had to
own.
narrow my focus.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they straight up had 2 opium wars, so I wasn't even gonna get into that.
Yeah.
I really had to narrow my focus. But I did read a couple interesting facts. So the first recorded drug law in the history of the world would actually date to the 7th century, and
You're breaking
it
up
was
again.
part of
Hold on. Started when did the war start? Or the law start?
oh yeah. So the first recorded. Oh, can you hear me fine?
Yeah.
Am I? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So if I just stand by the washer and dryer, narrow it down to those 2 things.
It's 4-inch window.
Yeah. So let's see. The first recorded drug law in the history of the world dates back to the 7th century, and it was part of some Islamic Sharia law, and it was actually specifically about alcohol. So alcohol is actually subject to the world's first known recorded drug law. Yeah, and it was kind of an interesting thing is like it kind of depending on who had the most influence over like the next few centuries, like
Right.
I guess hash was a pretty big part of Islamic culture.
Yeah. For
And,
quite a while.
Oh yeah. Actually, the word, and this is I don't know if this is speculation. I've read this so many times, but the word assassin is derived from the word hashish. because there was this group of like assassins, like a small army.
Right.
And they were big into the hash. It helped them like focus and go to bed at night and be aware.
Right.
And so allegedly that's where the word assassin comes from.
That's
so yeah, it was a pretty
fuck. That's
it
crazy.
was, I mean, yeah. And shit, even the history of marijuana use, that's another thing that we would have to have a team of people on, because that's one thing that predates written language. They found fossilized charred. They found like charred cannabis seeds in like pottery in Iraq.
Wow.
And going back like thousands of years.
That's crazy too.
Yeah. And here's one of the weirdest historical like marijuana findings was, so they found they determined he was a shaman. They found a mummified body in I think it was China or maybe Mongolia. But the interesting thing is that they found he had like a bag of like some herbs and like medicines and shit like that.
Right.
And they found a bag of weed that had fossilized. But the most interesting thing is that this guy actually, they determined he was of European origin.
Huh.
And I think the body dates back to, 1000 BC.
Wow. So yeah.
Not only was that before, like, Europeans would have known to have been east, but...
Right.
Well, yeah, but he also had weed in him.
Right. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's all I got.
Oh, that's some good-ass tea. So, yeah, and then...
Wow.
Not only that...
That's unreal.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. And then, like... Oh, sorry. I'm making loud-ass faucet. No, I got some... I don't know why, but... I just have, like, this real dry mouth today.
Yeah, I can't imagine why.
Yeah, like, I'm constantly thirsty, and I ate, like, 20 sandwiches before you called me. Yeah, that was bad.
My bad. I didn't mean to be so long.
Oh, no, like, I was busy. Like, I was occupied, but I just kept making sandwiches. And it was like one piece of meat and one piece of cheese and nothing else. So, like, I knew that wasn't going to fill me up.
Damn.
I essentially just ate a bunch of bread.
Right. With a tease of meat.
What?
With a tease of meat.
Yeah. A hint of meat.
Yeah. Oh, dude. This has nothing to do with our topic, but have you seen Sean Hannity lately?
No, last time I watched any clips of him was probably like a year or so ago.
I happened to watch him for a couple times this week just to see what his take on stuff was.
Mm-hmm.
He's orange. It's like he's literally so far up Trump's ass, he's turning orange.
Wow.
Yeah, no, like next anytime this week at 8 p.m. Turn it to Fox News. If you're in Central Time. Yeah, he's fucking orange.
I'll have to check that out because Jamie's mom watches Fox News, even though she's not a Republican, but I think she just watches all the news channels. But yeah, orange, that's interesting. So he's like oh, that'd be funny if like all like White House aides just like their hair gets green and then they shrink and turn orange and they start singing songs. I would support the Trump administration if all of his aides and staff just turned into Oompa Loompas.
I would switch my views on him instantly. As I'm supporting him, this would be a pro-Trump atheism podcast.
Oh yeah, so I was kind of talking about like ancient cannabis use, and it's like, I don't know, there's just so much out there. If anyone listening gets bored, it's pretty interesting stuff. But here's a weird thing, like, and I've looked. There's a verse where they're talking about the ingredients. I don't know if it's in the Old Testament. I think so. but there's something like some Bibles have this and some don't, which is right there, like,
right.
Should be a red flag, not to trust everything the Bible says, but
Right.
they're talking about the ingredients of the holy anointing oil, and some versions, one of the ingredients is something called cannabosum, which obviously is cannabis. Like,
right.
I've never heard any historians argue that it was anything else.
Right.
So that's, and then yet that's the ironic thing is people who support the drug prohibition, there's always weird religious overtones to it.
Yeah.
Which makes me laugh because those people associate drugs with being anti-Christian, and it's drugs were made illegal barely 100 years ago.
Right.
So, I don't think,
I don't think Jesus had anything to do with it as far as, his commands or demands go.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's just another annoying thing of, just keep your fucking religion out of policy.
Right.
Believe whatever you believe in, but, I mean, come on.
Yeah. You can believe whatever you want, but I need to stay out of politics.
Yeah.
It's literally against the Constitution. And it happens all the fucking time.
Oh, yeah, well, we'll get into that later. So, yeah, so as far as the...
Fucking Debbie Downer over here.
Oh, yeah, no, there's some religion's gonna come up here shortly. But, so, as far as drug laws in the United States, actually, they started off, well, there was a, kind of around the Revolutionary War period, there was a large incentive for people to, it was kind of an unwritten rule for a while, a lot of people the government liked it if you had farmland, if you would donate, or if you would use a portion of that for growing hemp to help with, the military and all sorts of shit. Yeah, so there was that, so drug laws in the country actually started off as a good thing. So the first state drug laws started appearing in about 1860, and they were actually made to, it made it mandatory to disclose the ingredients of medicine, which is a very good thing.
Of course.
Obviously.
Right.
Yeah. So those were the first drug laws in the U.S., and they were on the state level. First federal drug law didn't happen until I think 1914. But between then and
can you imagine today's GOP voting? They would have voted against that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Yeah.
This shit makes sense. We can't have it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, yeah, because, if the if it was an industry like it is now, oh, man.
Yeah.
That would have never passed. We would still be,
What's in these meds? You don't have to tell you.
Yeah. Just take it.
Then you'd have Alex Jones conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
They're putting poison in our ibuprofen.
So speaking of the Asians,
yeah, right.
So as far as drug prohibition goes, this is when it was about I think the 1880s is when drug prohibition on a state level started appearing, and that started in California, and it's just remarkable how how little. How certain things in society haven't changed one bit. And that was, the first drug laws were opium-based. And, of course, that was that's when there was a massive Chinese immigration
into
the United States. And, of course, opium was a part of their culture. It's something that
therefore
laborers, it's something laborers have used, after building the white man's railroad.
Right.
And so it was I want to say it was in 1885. I didn't write down that date for some dumb reason, but it was in California, and it was 100%. And then, like, it's funny, every single one of these drug laws, like the three major drugs, which is, cocaine, opium/heroin, and marijuana, it's all the same fucking thing, which is where it's fear of immigration. And then what all of these have done is, like, just to really get people, just so people actually pay attention, they always say that, oh, well, these immigrants, they use these drugs, and then they have white women do it, and then they go to, like, it's fear of these minorities stealing their jobs and their white women. And every single time one of these laws have passed, it follows the same thing. It's like, certain politicians and maybe businessmen get in on it, and then there's a massive, yellow journalism campaign, and then the law gets passed.
It's amazing, man. It's the same story.
Yeah, it's the same bullshit over and over. So, 1880s is when, well, actually...
What doesn't make sense to me is, like, alright, so let's say today's bullshit about Mexicans. Like, they need to come over here speaking English. And then they turn around and say, they're stealing our jobs and our women. Man, if they don't speak the language and they're taking your job and your woman, maybe you have a problem. Maybe you're the problem.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That is actually a very good point. It's like, if they're really stealing your woman and your job, then maybe you're just incompetent. Maybe you're an incompetent spouse and or employee.
Right.
And then I can't remember who said it. Like, I know some comedian said this, but what's really funny is that when people like Bill O'Reilly talk about Mexicans taking their jobs, it's like, I don't know how many illegal immigrants are gunning for a Fox News position.
Exactly.
However, I will say, I would love it. I would love it.
I would watch the shit out of that.
Yeah. If Mexican immigrants who are, like, wearing some, like, day labor clothes, like, all of a sudden we're on Fox News, and then kids still barely speak English, but nothing would make me happier.
I would watch that every fucking day. I'd DVR it if I had to work, if I was working.
Because I feel like at least like some sort of day laborer would at least admit, like, oh, well, they're paying me to say this bullshit.
Right. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
It's gotta be amazing. Oh my god, I would watch it every fucking day.
Oh, I would watch nothing but that.
All of them have like some like title to their show, the Ingram Angle or something like that.
Yeah.
Bill O'Reilly had the Fair and Balanced, the O'Reilly Factor. That's what it was, the O'Reilly Factor.
Yeah.
The Juan Hour.
The Juan Hour. I would love it if like a Fox News van just pulled into the Home Depot parking lot.
That would be amazing.
They're like, all right, I need
I need a cameraman.
Yeah, I need someone to build the shed, and I need somebody to host a 1-hour weekly segment in prime time.
Okay.
Okay. See.
Trump wants to build a wall. It's not making sense.
No spin zone, see.
I would watch that every fucking night.
Oh yeah. Oh, so I just got an email notification that says I know they said they sent me something as part of because I had an account at Wells Fargo. It had something to do with the class action lawsuit. So.
Nice.
Yeah, hopefully.
Fingers
I was
crossed.
Yeah. I've had $20 at a time in my account, so I'm sure that affects me not at all.
It'd just be amazing if everyone got like a set amount, no matter how much it was in your bank. 10 grand.
Shit. Yeah.
10 grand. Bam.
I would spend that all on PCP.
Because we're at war, damn it.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking war on drugs. Oh, yeah, I gotta keep moving because I get to the origin of that phrase. Oh, yeah, so, okay, so, yeah, we were at the Chinese immigrants. That was where the first
that started off from Chinese and ended up with a Mexican Fox News host. Yeah.
Yeah, the reason people aren't going to hear this on 420 is because it is a 420 episode.
Exactly. We want to do the 420, and you can listen to it later.
So I didn't. 18. I did write that down. They're kind of out of order. 1875. That was when the first state opium law was.
Got it.
Bragging about my organized notes.
Not trying to brag.
The one thing I didn't find like this. There's most of the information I got came from like a couple of sites that the ACLU website linked onto, but I didn't see what year they actually made cocaine illegal.
Oh yeah.
I think it might have been 1914. All right, well, yeah, moving on. So, yeah, 1875. That was when completely race-based. That was when the first drug laws were.
Right.
So yeah, the drug prohibition in the U.S. is clearly bullshit right off the bat. And
it's all the same. When you have religion, you have bullshit, and you have a hint of racism.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter what the topic is; it's the same shit.
Yeah, and like the website, it didn't mention as far as the opium laws went. It didn't mention any religious aspects, but I mean, come on, they weren't Christians, so I'm sure
yeah.
I'm sure Buddhism was used in part of that propaganda campaign somewhere.
Had to be.
Oh yeah, even despite the fact that it is, for the most part, a pretty peaceful religion.
Yeah, for the most part.
But
We'll have to do an episode on that.
We want the immigrants to build our, fences and railroads, but we don't want them to have fun or we don't want them to even relax.
No. We want you over here making railroads 24/7.
Yeah. So, let's see. So that brings us to, 1906. That was when the very first federal drug law came into effect. And that was known as the Pure Food and Drug Act of 1906, which, as was the, that 1860 law, it was purely as a federal mandate, so you had to disclose
right.
product. That was really the first time, pharmaceutical companies are being held accountable, and I think that's a very good law.
Right.
And then,
absolutely.
So here's an interesting fact, is that, okay, so the Harrison Act of 1914, that was, I believe, the first actual prohibition laws. That was the first federal laws that punished possession of cocaine, heroin, and I don't think marijuana was on there yet. But before that, so starting in the 1890s, Bayer, the aspirin company, they're a pretty old company apparently. So they and I saw, you could see pictures of some of their advertisements. And so Bayer marketed heroin towards women.
Wow.
And
in what way?
Well, a lot of it, it's kind of the same way they marketed the shit out of amphetamines to housewives in the 50s.
Okay, right.
It was kind of a, you're hard at work. Actually, a lot of it had to do with the relief of menstrual pain.
Right.
So, yeah, so heroin was heavily marketed towards women, which is kind of interesting. And Bayer.
Right.
And Bayer, but like some of their ads are hilarious because like you just look at them and at first glance, like you would honestly think it's some sort of like dress or like clothing advertisement.
Right.
And then you look into it and they're like trying to get these women to use heroin.
America.
Yeah, gotta love it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So that's going to do it for the first part of our multi-part episode. I'm not even sure how many parts it's going to be. Maybe 2 or 3. We'll see. But thank you guys so much for listening again. We will talk to you next time.